Hey guys, Matthew here. So this is going to be a quick video of a step-by-step guide of how I basically made my foil. It seems like while I did talk about how I made it in the other video, tons and tons of people are asking me questions about how I did it and stuff, and it seems it's just not very clear. So I'm going to go over the entire process with you guys. I'm sorry I do have whoops in the backgrounds because I'm trying to buy certain things. And I'm also not on D&D mode because I do want to buy certain things and sell certain things. And if ever somebody wants to mirror my foil again or whatever it is, I want to be available. So if I do get PM'd, I'm sorry. It might happen. It might not. We are pretty much at off hours right now. So essentially, how I made my foil from start to finish. So this isn't exactly how I made it because I didn't have a 3 white socket base, but essentially it's the same. So what I did is I went ahead and bought a jeweled foil that was item level 83 or more. Why 83? Because that is the level required to hit all the tier 1 physical damage gems. Or sorry, rolls. I don't know why I said gems. So I went ahead and bought that. Then I went ahead and bought some perfect fossils with 1 socket resonators and slammed those until I got 30% quality. And this is really like early in the league when you couldn't just go outright and buy one of these for like an exalt. This is way back when nobody had that kind of shit. Well, only a few people did, but they weren't willing to sell the bases because that was instantly meaning that other people could kind of like do what they were doing. And obviously you want to protect your market, you want to protect your investment. So anyways, so I went ahead and 30 qualityed it. And then I was on my way to basically trying to make a base which would look like this. +3 weapon range, blue with nothing else. Obviously, I didn't have 3 white socket. That came afterwards. When I got the benches, eventually I hit 3 whites. But that's not really an important part so long as you have a item level 83 or plus. I think it's 83 or 84. I'm pretty sure it's 83. And then 30% quality. You're well on your way. So, what came next? Buying Deafening Essences of Dread. Why? Because it gives you the Essence mod melee +3 to melee weapon range, or sorry, +3 to weapon range. So essentially, it's like the only way to get that mod. So it's only this Essence craft. There's no other way. Well, I mean, there's a fossil that gives you a random Essence craft, but whatever. It's really just this Essence to get the +3 weapon mod. So how do you actually isolate that to come up with a foil like this? So earlier in the league, these things were pretty cheap. I guess the meta wasn't really fixed around the +3 range type stuff yet. So instead of these being like 75 chaos like they are right now, you could get those for about 15 chaos each, which was very, very reasonable. So what I would do is basically I slammed it on a foil, right? Just like this. Then I look at the roll, and depending what happened to the foil, I would decide if I keep it or not. Because there is basically 2 different ways that I can end up with a foil like this, with just +3 weapon range and nothing else. The first way is if I go ahead and I annul it to where it would have only the suffix melee range and then a prefix of any kind or a suffix of any kind. Basically, only 2 stats, and one of them would be +3 weapon range. Because then I can split it with the beasts, which I'll show in a bit, and it would give me a magic base with the +3 weapon range, which would be my initial base, and it would give me another base with the trash mod that I can just go ahead and sell for like an exalt. But there is also another way. So what you could have done also is basically slam these essences on it until your foil has only 1 suffix and at most 2 prefixes. So that's actually really hard to do, and typically you're going to have to annul into that because you're probably going to have to annul a suffix or annul a prefix to be able to do it. Afterwards, you would craft suffixes cannot be changed, which is a prefix, and scour the item down. So if you have only the suffix of +3 range and you scour the item down, it will become blue because the item will not stay rare with a single mod on it when you do, suffixes or prefixes cannot be changed. So that's the only other way to get the foil. Personally, I went with a split version. I basically annulled these things until I isolated +3 weapon range and something else. So see, just like this, this is what I got, and then I split it with the beasts because back then they were about 1.5x, now they're pushing 2x. Uh, this isn't worth splitting anymore at this point because of the price of the beast, so I'm just going to go ahead YOLO annul it. So as you can see, I bricked it. If I would actually have kept just the +3 range, I would have been able to sell that for, maybe 5 exalts or so. So at that point, that goes back to the sell tab for 1.5x because it's a brick. But it was well worth a shot. I got like 3 out of 4 annuls, so I can't complain too much. Alright, so afterwards, I would have this base, right? If I would have done the split version or the suffixes cannot be exchanged version, I'm sorry for my throat, I would end up with this base. So this base is basically my initial base that I personally had. So what I did to make it into this sort over here, which was then my actual crafting base, where it became profitable, because this duping these and trying to make these was not profitable, by the way, just saying. Even very earlier on, it was not very good profit. Because you would have to split that, but then it would become a blue foil. Now, nobody was buying blue foils at first, so you'd have to like re-imprint it and regal it, and then try to annul the other crappy mod. So it wasn't profitable. Let's just put it like that. But either way, what I was doing is basically I would imprint it, right? So this would give me an imprint of the foil. I'm not going to do it because it would be wasting like 1.4 exalt right now. But it would give me an imprint of the foil, which means I can do anything I want with this foil, except deleting it or valuing it. And I can re-put the imprint back on it, and it's going to go back to what you're seeing right now. So how I got this base over here, the Merciless T1 Fizz, I got really lucky. It took about 300 exalts, maybe something like that. I was basically imprinting it, and then I would augment it because it would give me basically 100% chance of hitting a prefix because it has a suffix that it's a magic item. So I would have one chance at getting one of the good prefixes, and then I would regal it for another chance, or a 50% chance of getting another prefix, which would be another chance at getting a good prefix. If, let's say, I would have hit a good prefix, which didn't happen, this actually happened on an augment, which is super lucky. But if it would have happened on a regal, then I would have had to split the fucking sword again and pray to God that I get the +3 range with the other good prefix, and that the other crappy suffix just leaves basically, or prefix just leaves. But that would have been a 1 in 3 chance as well. So I'll go ahead and show you guys basically the process of this. I kind of forgot a few things to be able to show you guys how I did that, or how I went from basically this to the mirror tier Gale Stinger, which by the way has been mirrored 13 times so far. A few people have tried to mirror it when I was offline, so that's, or not there, so sadly, but they'll probably come back soon enough, so that's okay. Alright, so we go back to Menagerie, and I'll show you guys basically how I did it, because I kind of got to dupe this sword again. So, how I did it, after I hit the Merciless roll, it was basically the exact same thing. The only difference is when I hit that Merciless roll, the foil actually became profitable to dupe. It was more profitable to sell to craft up the foils and sell them than to not. Because when I was doing the Augment Regal on the just +3 jeweled foils, I was actually never duping them. And I was never selling any. So it was a pure loss every single time I tried. But eventually, it was going to pay off once I hit something good. And because I was generating enough currency to keep doing that by other means, then I was okay with it. So basically, I'll show you guys how it's done. So I went ahead and basically I would imprint this foil. Not this one. Almost scammed myself. I would imprint this foil. It would end up by giving me an imprint, which I'm about to show basically. It would give me an imprint, right? So this is the imprint, and this is the initial foil right here. So I would regal it just like that, and then it would give me a suffix or a prefix. It doesn't really matter. And basically, I did that until I hit, flaring on the prefix. How many times did I have to imprint, regal this thing to actually get that? If I had to take a wild guess, I'd say probably over 300 to 400. So it was actually kind of in the range of what you should expect, because the chance of hitting flaring is about 1 in 378. So yeah. pretty much in the range of what you can expect. Maybe a little bit lucky, maybe a bit unlucky, but mostly in the range of that. That being said, as you can see now, I have a suffix right and a prefix. But this is not a complete brick. There is one more way to actually save this foil from being completely trash and having to re-imprint it. And that is beast crafting it. I can use a ferric wolf alpha, which will add a prefix and remove a random suffix. So as you can see, this has the merciless roll, which I want to keep, the +3 range, which I want to keep, and some crappy suffix. So if I do this, it's going to add a prefix to the sword, but it's also going to remove a suffix. So it has a 1 in 2 chance of actually removing the weapon range and making the foil utterly useless. But it also has a chance of removing the other crappy prefix and giving me any prefix, the other crappy suffix and giving me literally any prefix, which could be, something like flaring. So that's another way that it would be possible to hit that kind of roll. I'm not going to do that because I've already hit basically the best possible foil that I could ever imagine for this league. So that's it for this foil. I'm not going to do that, but I do have to print or to dupe this base. So how you dupe the actual base to make 2 and then 4 and then so on and so forth, and how I was duping them. Essentially, it's just like the item quantity gear in standard. So as you can see, the foil has three stats, 3 affixes. If I go ahead and split it, it's going to give me basically 2 swords with half the affixes on each. And since it has 3, basically one of them is going to have 1 affix and the other is going to have 2. So I have a 1 in 6 chance of getting what I really want, which is weapon range and the merciless roll. The other 5 would either be complete bricks or maybe sellable. It would depend. So we're going to go ahead and do this. But how you're actually going to need, what you're going to need to be able to dupe it is the imprint. And I'll show you guys why that's important. So as you remembered, I imprinted the foil, and then I do this. So this is a brick, right? It gives me back the foil, basically one of the versions of them. But this is actually the version that had +3 range on it, right? So I lost it. But how you get that back is by imprinting it back. So as you can see, I saved my base and I essentially duped a new one. But this one is +3 with a crappy suffix. So this is one of the foils that I actually kind of need to annul to actually save it, unfortunately, to make it profitable. Because this whole process that I just showed you cost me basically 1 imprint, which is about 1.4 exalt, and then 2 exalt for the split. So let's just say give or take 3.5 exalts. So if I go ahead and take an annul, and I annul it, I have a 1 in 2 shot of actually saving it, and the other would be a complete brick. If I go ahead and completely brick it by annulling the range, I can scour it down and sell the base for 1.5x, essentially giving me about half what I put into it. If I hit the crappy suffix and stay with only a +3 rare sword, I can sell that for about 5x, meaning I've made a little bit of profit, which means it pays for more tries later on. So I'll go ahead and do that. Unfortunate, that was a complete rip. So we can just scour the base down and put it in the sell tab for 1.5x. They sell. Sometimes I lower them down to 1x when I have too many copies, but otherwise they do sell because people kind of want them, So I'll go ahead and put the mirror tier one back here where it's safe and sound. Then this one is the base. This one goes back here for like, I don't know, 6x maybe. They don't seem to sell for 7 anymore, even 6. I'll put it for 5, who cares? They're probably at like 2 or 3, because ever since I made the video, they just don't sell anymore. I'm guessing everybody started doing this. But anyway, so that's basically the exact step-by-step way and guide of how I ended up with a mirror tier 1. So obviously it's just luck on top of luck on top of luck on top of luck. Like, that's all it is. But to get lucky, you gotta try. You gotta keep trying, because even if it's 1 in 3,000, well, guess what? Every time you do it, it's 1 extra shot in these 3,000 pool to actually hit it. And when you do hit it, then it's juicy. So that's gonna be it for this video. After this, I'll be recording the crafting for profit video that I promised, because the other one was a little bit too long. So I'll make like a condensed version of that one, and that's gonna be coming up basically today as well. So hopefully you actually understand how I made the foil from beginning to end. And hopefully you learned a little something. That's going to be Matthew signing out. Until the next one. Peace.